Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where property meets purpose. I'm Talia Hugh.
And I'm Megan Rovers. Together we're here to unpack the real stories behind the people shaping the property industry. From bold first steps to career-defining moments and the life lessons they've built along the way.
If you're passionate about property, curious about the human side of success, or just looking to build something meaningful, you're in the right place.
So let's unpack it. Welcome to Built for This. Welcome, Shannan, to the podcast. Thanks for jumping on with us today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Now, we're going to start with some of the, the decorations that you might have against your name, and there's some of the awards that you've recently won. Because huge credit to you. You Google your name, there's a lot that comes up. So I feel like we're going to have to unpack a pretty extensive kind of career journey for yourself. So Melbourne Entrepreneur Award most recently in the tech category, and then Geelong Young Entrepreneur Award in 2024. Talk to us about those and what they mean to you, winning awards with such a big word. It's like a very buzzword always, entrepreneur. How does that sit with you, and winning those awards, what did that mean to you?
It's funny. It's like we've been doing this for about 15 years. So straight out of uni, we started our first business, and I'm now 36. So what's that, 15 years or so, maybe even more. And so point being is we've never put our names ever down for awards. And so it was my lovely wife, Alice, who was like, hey, we should probably put our names down for some of this stuff because we probably deserve something along the lines there in terms of at least staking a claim. I'm not sure what it is, but at least putting your hand up for the first time. And we put our hand up and we were lucky to win those awards. But I think really importantly, it's, yes, my name was on the awards, but it's like my business partner, Bennett, he was sort of co-sharer in all of these awards, and Chris as well as our third business partner too. So they're nice to get, I suppose, but you're very quickly back to operating, and I don't think we'll be putting our names down moving forward. We just wanted to do it that once, and we're really fortunate to win.
I think it's one of those things that when you're in that position, who's kind of telling you are doing a good job? Like, you're obviously always telling managers they're doing a good job, and then the people, like, and it is nice, as you said, to get the award, but then sometimes when you get it, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, but what about, and you've just done it, what about all these other people that kind of got me here or helped me get there? So you want to kind of remain, as you alluded to, a little bit humble, but obviously, it's always nice to see some credit for the work that you've done.
Like I said, if it wasn't for Alice, I don't know if we would have done them. And yes, it's I would not be in these sort of positions without my business partners, and so it is equally their name on all of these things. I think it's really important to note that.
Now, congratulations on those awards. And I always find it's always the most humble people that do win them. So good to see that you've been recognised. In terms of your current company, talk to us a little bit about that. Would also love to dive as well into previous businesses that you touched on. But tell us a little bit about your current business and how that all came about.
I'll try and be brief. So maybe the journey briefly is sort of out of uni, we started a company called Event Workforce, which was about linking motivated students studying in sport. So I was studying sports management at Deakin. Obviously, Geelong boy, went to Joey's, but went up to Melbourne, and realising it was really tough to get experience while you're a student, and also it was really tough to get a job in sport at the end of it. So we wanted to build not deliberately, we just started casually working and bringing our friends to events and things, and it sort of evolved into this staffing company and placement company. And from 2010 to 2015, we grew that to be Australia's largest event staffing business called Event Workforce. And we just had spreadsheets coming out our ears. We had 25,000 staff on our books in each state, in each key university around the country, spreadsheets, emails, SMSs, you name it. And we're just like, this is chaos. We need to find a system firstly to try and manage this. And looking around, there's no sort of platforms around at the time, 2015, 2016, to help solve that. And so by coincidence, working with a friend on all the triathlon series and events who was studying in that area, and we tasked him with sort of building us some sort of systems to solve our own problems. And then we realized after a year or so of evolving that and saying, hey, like, this is a unique problem people are facing is managing mass workforce, large scale workforce. And so that's how Rostify sort of came about, which might have been 2016, I suppose, formally as a business. And Rostify is what we've been doing ever since. And what Rostify is and what we strive to be is the very best in the world at managing mass workforce in a single SaaS platform. So handling all the scheduling, recruitment, screening, time and attendance, reward recognition, all in one system. So working with large-scale nonprofits, cities, events around the world. And yeah, that's been our journey since 2015, 2016 to now. And yeah, still a lot ahead for us to achieve.
When you were diving into those businesses, you were kind of in the area of, okay, we know what the problem is. How overwhelming was the solution though for you? Because looking at what you've got now, obviously that wasn't the product you had in 2020, 2016, but
Yeah.
like it looks so automated, and we'll touch on AI and all that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a whole thing with you at the moment, but how overwhelming, or what was that kind of going like? We know what the problem is. We're going to be the ones that fix it. And why do you think you were the person that thought, I'm going to fix this problem?
Blind naivety, perhaps. Just sort of don't know why, but we've always had the approach of saying if anyone can do it, we can do it. Or like if we really care about this, then we'll do it. And I think it's just that combined with a reluctance to give up, or like a want to push through mistakes and go, you know what, we've learned from that, we're better from that, and sticking around. I think that's why we're still doing this 15 or 16 years down the line. It's so easy to quit, I suppose, and a lot of people probably try and start something. And I say this with utmost respect for anyone trying to start something at this age. I suppose at mine now, with kids and family and responsibility, when we started our business, and this is the biggest asterisk of all, is we had nothing but time and next to no risk, because if it all blew up, it didn't matter. Just go get a job somewhere. So I think that's, if anything, it's just a lesson to start young and have a crack while you can. And if the worst thing that happens is you learn from the experience, and that's fantastic.
That's amazing. And what does your team look like? Like, how many team members do you have at the moment?
Yeah, so we're still sort of the key shareholders in, it's called Spark Event Group now. The event workforce is now a different business, but it still does the same thing, just under a different name. And that's a fantastic business, still running really well, all Australian based. Probably similar numbers to what it was previously, but just delivering more. But then Rostify is really scaling quite a lot at the moment. We've done a few VC rounds recently, and I think we just looked at it last week actually for a recent report we did. We have about 70 full-time staff now across North America, Europe, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. We've just delivered over 150 million hours of volunteering through our platform. So a pretty incredible milestone for the team to hit that. And these are the sort of things that, again, you're not sitting there watching live dashboards of this necessarily. It's sort of we need to have a look at this because maybe investors or people are asking us questions about what's our true impact. And I think that's something our team can be pretty proud of. But we're very quickly, similar to before, we're saying, very quickly onto saying, well, 500 million is the next goal, and when are we going to achieve that by? So it's very much head down, bum up to continue moving.
How do you see, I guess, the business landscape at the moment? Because to tell us this question there, I think success or growth in a business was always measured as almost per head. Like if your team was growing, then you were growing. But I feel like a lot of businesses are going, well, it doesn't need to be like that anymore. We can get tech to do some of the work, AI to do some of the work. We might have people kind of all over the world working for us now. I guess what's your comment on that? The business landscape?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. Like, truly, if I could tell you we deliver the same with 40 people, I'd love to tell you the same thing. And so yes, now is a time that we need to look at these things very closely. But I guess for us, we're really fortunate that is sort of a small team for what we actually deliver. I know it sounds big now in talking about it, but in terms of if you think of our global reach and customers in 35 countries, like that's a very small team for what we actually deliver. And a lot of our clients are like, oh, you're a lot smaller than we actually thought you were. So it's certainly something to consider. Where there's a lot more challenge, I suppose, especially from our board and others around us, is around AI, and especially for the code base and everything that we're working on as a software platform. There's lots of efficiencies that can be gained from that, but it's not about reducing headcount necessarily. It's about being able to do more with the headcount that you have. And I think that's where we'll find the most efficiencies for our business. But it's probably a bit too early in our decision-making process now to comment on it, but that's certainly where our heads are, is about being able to make more impact in the hours that we have in a day, compared to saying, how do we reduce our headcount?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a little bit topical, because even just discussions that we have in the office at the moment, and I feel that yourself, you've got children, is that right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like, what does the future look like for them? What kind of skills should we be teaching our kids? Because as you said, like as a human in your business, we're probably expecting more now from those humans. It's like, we used to be like someone who could input data all day, every day, or, do monotonous tasks. They were valued the same as someone who was like quite hands-on and practical, or, really good at conversations. Whereas now I feel like that value proposition has changed. So it's been a little bit topical kind of in a few conversations that we're having about, what does the future look like? And especially for people like yourself in tech, what, if your kids say, I want to be, this type of person when I grow up as in a career option, it's almost like, well, how do you guide them? What does that look like? And I guess you're at the forefront of that in the tech world at the moment.
Yeah, look, I'm fortunate that our kids are 6 and 2, so I'm a little way off guiding that. We're talking about running a nail salon or being an astronaut or something. So all fun, great ideas. There'll be a fair few years before we're talking anything about that, and therefore we have more time to assess all of these things and see how it's all looking. But maybe to reflect on your question a bit, like if I think about Rostify, right, we're introducing an automated workflow platform for example, so for like a St. Vinny's or a Red Cross or someone like that, right? And this same sort of automated workflow system is not too dissimilar to an AI in terms of disruption, in terms of the way that a lot of our clients previously did things before Rostify was in spreadsheets and in emails, and you might have had 15 people doing the same job that now one person can do in Rostify. And that's just the reality of things, to become more efficient and to be able to create more impact. And so it's not like this is a new thing to us. We've been doing this and disrupting in effect for the best part of probably 10 years now with Rostify. And I guess a lot of these people now can just do more in what they are hoping to do. And really, if you think about it, especially for what we, I guess, aspire to as a business, is that, Tyler, if you're the head of workforce or volunteers, the reason why you signed up to that job is to actually connect with other humans and do the work that is the fun stuff compared to the monotonous stuff. And so that is exactly what the impact we see from Rostify has to our customers, is that they are happier in their work, they can do more, make more impact, and go back to their board confidently to say, this is why we need to reinvest in this sort of space, because here's the greater impact we're making, right? And it's the same thing with AI. If we look at our team saying, if I reflect personally, being like one example, there's many, but, tender writing software, auto RFP, I think it is. Previously I would have spent 2 or 3 days responding to these tenders and responses. We now have a full library of responses from about 150 tenders, and we just say, click one button, say respond to this tender of 150 lines, and it spits out pages and pages of personalized responses to their questions. So that makes my life easier and better so that I can get on to the next thing faster. And I think that's just a fantastic innovation that only helps us.
You mentioned it before about, I guess, young entrepreneurs just giving it a go, why not, type of thing. And I've said this before about ignorance was bliss. We're kind of in the same position when I started the business. Would I do it again at this age? Probably not. It scares the shit out of me knowing what I know now. I guess just a statement that I would like you to make a comment on. Like, do you think business, I guess the barriers of entry into getting into being an entrepreneur is less now with the help of AI and tech than it was maybe 15, 16 years ago when you started Event Workforce?
Yeah, ginormously. Yeah. We had to hustle so hard back then, and of course you have to now because there's more people probably
more
being
competition,
able to do it, right? More competition, more noise. How do you stand out? So it's a different problem you face. But I would probably prefer the problem, pick your poison in a way, right? Like back then, really hard for people to find us as a business. And why would they believe in us? Even our website was really average and dodgy, and we could only have so much. But now you can spin up a beautiful looking website with comments and all this sort of stuff within minutes, really. And this is sort of stuff that we really struggle with back in the day. And then as well, the branding and everything and the getting people to know us was really hard back in the day. And there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of turning up to events, meeting people, building your network, where you can do that a lot faster this day and age, and build trust faster. So I think, so for my time, I help out at St. Joey's, my old school, with some of the entrepreneurship courses and some of the young kids. And it's something I'm really passionate about, and seeing how, and I'd love to get involved more at Sacred Heart as well, for young women who I just don't see enough young women in this space of startup world and running their own business. And there's 1,000 reasons why, but I think for me to help build confidence in young people to say, the worst outcome is that you learn something and you have a go, female, male, whatever it is. I think that's something I'd love to sort of help share a bit of that story, because I wouldn't have it any other way in our journey. And it's been bloody hard and really difficult. Certainly it's a roller coaster ride, but it's certainly worth it in the end, I suppose, in terms of the experience you gain, networks and friendships you build, and being proud of something as well.
I'm interested in Geelong. So you've grown up in Geelong, you're still in Geelong, you've got a business that now is worldwide. Why is Geelong home for you?
Yeah, so I mean, when I went to uni, I was stayed in Melbourne for about 10 years, and I think that's the same for most people. When you get to the age of about 30 odd and have kids and want to come back home, because my wife Alice, she's Aireys Inlet girl as well, so being closer to home there as well as Geelong for me. My dad also got a bit unwell, so it was good to be able to come home and spend more time with family too. But I think naturally just having kids and having family support around is critical for your own sanity. And so I think that's a key driver. And we just love the way of life in Geelong too. So I go up to Melbourne probably twice a week at the moment. But before now, like, it sounds pretty easy now, I suppose, but like I would be in Europe for 6 weeks at a time, America for a month at a time, while Alice is at home by herself, either pregnant or, just getting by. And so it's like, there's been a lot of travel all around the world for the last 8 years that, was very draining, taxing. I know it sounds wonderful. Of course it does. And I'm very appreciative of that opportunity to do it. But, it's full on and it's lonely for your partner too, that you need to recognize. So, to not be able to drain yourself and your family's energy by traveling all the time, and to be closer to home, especially when the kids are so young. And the moments with young kids are so special. Like, I don't want to be away for 1 minute. Like, I'm going to New Zealand tomorrow for about 36 hours. Like, I want to be here and with my family. Yeah.
Yeah. And we often speak with a lot of our guests in terms of the importance of having that really strong support network. So it really sounds like that you've got that in Alice, which is amazing. Yeah. In terms of, I guess, as well as all the travel and things, like, what does an average day sort of look like for you within the business world and family world?
Well, as I sort of mentioned, it's changed a lot. Like in the past, it was sort of, to the question before about the why you guys, or like, why do you think you can do this? It was just that naivety. So maybe to answer your question, like, call it 6 years ago, my job was to grow Rostify around the world, out of Melbourne. And a lot of tech people in Australia, they would all sit and agree to say Australia's basically, if you were to pick the worst country in the world to launch a business from, it'd be Australia. So the people in America, truly, some of them don't even know what Australia is. They think it's part of England. So it's really hard to do this. And the only way to do it is to turn up, be able to look people in the eye, take them out for dinner, shake their hand and say, you've got to believe in me. And then therefore you have to be truly accountable to the delivery of these things. Like, if you're not on the line for it, then why would they bother leaning into you or giving you a go? Like, we've had so many, if we look back on our customers and our journey from like this first Super Bowl we signed, for them to say like, this is a big chance we're giving you guys. And now next year will be our 10th Super Bowl. Yeah. And so it's a real sort of, I guess, testament to our team about that sort of ownership, accountability, delivery, being like, you've got to show up in the first place for them to even believe in you and know you and trust you. And then you've got to deliver the hell out of it to begin with, to build relationships. And I guess trust is that key thing, I suppose, I keep coming back to.
You're talking to two people that love property here. And now I'm going to launch into a couple of questions about property, just because you sound like a very busy person.
Yeah.
and have been for quite a period of time. And people who spend time on the road, I guess, have different ideas of home, a house, a property. They're all the same thing, essentially. It's all the same asset class. But what does, I guess, home mean to you now that you have kids versus when you're on the road? And I guess what has your property journey looked like returning to Geelong?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think what does our journey look like so far? Out of university, managed to buy a little apartment in Melbourne. Terrible investment, always the way, but great place for us to live in and not pay rent, etc. Not that the maths adds up in the end, but it feels like it does at the time. And then was able to buy a pretty rundown old place on Swanston Street, actually, just near Kilgore. And I distinctly remember winning it at auction and then going, what have I done? Like,
Oh, no.
really, I spent probably the next 3 months with Alice being like, why did we do that? That was a bad decision. We just happened to go to all these auctions and miss out. And then we got this one. I was like, oh no, what have we done this? And so anyway, with the help of my family, my dad in particular, helped to renovate and put a lot of work into that. And that's when we moved in with Evie, our daughter, when she was born about 6 years ago. And we lived in it while also sort of living at mum and dad's through that process too. And then renovated that and got it to a beautiful place, but it was a block size of something like 300 square meters. I grew up in a larger place in terms of having more space, especially being keen in sports and things like that, at least a backyard, which we did not have at Swanston Street. And so it was always just going, we just need a bit more space and outlook. And especially with Alice's family growing up down the Surf Coast and a lot more space, you go down there. And to your point about going about what does a home look like I still, every time I go down to areas, my shoulders loosen up a bit, and I'd sit on their back deck and look into some space and go, well, this feels like home and feels more relaxed than Swanston Street did in terms of traffic starting at 5 a.m, trucks rolling through, no backyard for the kids to play in. And I just always wanted some more space, I suppose. And so we just spent probably a year or so looking around and sort of going for the space we need. We're going to have to go out to Surf Coast and Bellbrae and all these sorts of areas. But I guess factoring that with life was really hard when we have to be to Melbourne or to the airport a fair bit. And Alice also works in the business too at Rostify. So, for her to get up to Melbourne too, conscious of, it's not all about me. It needs to work for both of us. And so we're sort of resigned to the fact of moving down that way and just being in a bit of traffic and pain, which a lot of people do, right? And so we'll get ready to do that. And then that's when this place popped up that we're in now. And I was actually overseas at the time. I was in, I think, Dubai or something, and Alice sent me a link to it. And I was like, well, that's our home. Like, this is what we've always wanted. And it's in Newtown and right next to St. Joey's, where I went to school, and Fines Park, where I went to primary school, which Evie, my daughter, started at this year, which is pretty special. So I guess that's sort of the journey as to how we landed here.
And isn't it funny when you aren't necessarily looking that something might pop up that is perfect? And we see it all the time. And then it's kind of like, hey, agents, help, because we've got this house, but we need this house. And it's one of the hardest things to do in Victoria, or probably in Australia, probably anywhere, is to move from an existing house into another existing house, because you can't, it's like the chicken and egg. Which one do you do first? You sell and then buy. And talk to us about that, because we see it and we know it is a stressful process. But for someone it sounds like you're already in Dubai, not sure if you're transiting there or you're there, and then obviously Alice has sent you this. What was that process like for you?
It's so funny, like how naive you are through the whole process. Like the biggest decisions you make in your entire life, really, and so much of it is built on emotion and being like, well, that's it, and then the harsh reality of saying, well, you can't do that. It's what all of us face, and we certainly face it a lot too. The funny thing is, actually, before we bought this place, we looked at one in Ocean Grove, and we got to the point of putting in offers. And I distinctly recall being like, speaking to the real estate agent, being like, we're going to have to put in a conditional offer because we're going to have to sell our place first. And she's like, well, the other 5 bidders don't need to do that. And I was like, who are those people? Like, who has that money sitting around? Like, I thought everyone had to sell their house. And she's like, no, these people just have that in their bank account. I was like, oh, that's the game we're playing in. And I was like, it sounds so stupid in hindsight, but that's where my head was at. I guess probably again similar to the business thing, naively being like, well, if we can do it, then why not? We'll have a go. And then sort of hitting that brick wall of saying you're miles off. And we faced that a few times. And then when it came around to this place, I guess we'd been through that pain a few times to say, well, we know what we're signing up for here. We know we're coming up against 6 or 7 other bidders that can just pay cash today. And so we just had to wing it in a sense and risk it of saying we're willing to go to auction and purchase this, knowing that we'd then need to sell our place. And it was all towards the end of the year as well, which wasn't good timing with Christmas and stuff coming in too, which was kind of scary. So it was quite a journey.
And I was going to touch on that as well, because it looks like your property journey, you've sort of gone from one extreme to the other. Like the first one, you were missing out a lot, so you just went and bought the first one that you could, essentially, to then, finding your dream home and then making it work that way. And like Megan alluded to, like we see that so often. And with people, being in those positions where they need to sell first and things, it goes in such a flow-on effect in terms of at some points you can have that time to sell. Talk to us about that in terms of, getting your home ready to sell, and did you face any issues, or was it all pretty smooth sailing in the end?
Look, no one would say it's easy. Hey, like it's a tough thing. You have to do it, and that's the way it works. So again, probably more credit to Alice in terms of getting it all prepared and looking nice and everything, and ushering kids in and out of the house for inspections. Like that was painful, but again, part of the process. And then we did what's it called? Where we didn't do an auction. It was sort of a silent auction. Yeah. So we did offers, over the space of a week or whatever it is. Just on the word, but we did that. And I think we had one offer or something like this. And then we just thought, the flurry will come through. We're just waiting on it, and nothing came through. And so like, oh my God. So here we are, like, we're just going to have to sell it sort of this point. And we ended up somewhere close to where we wanted to in the end, but it was funny just sitting by the phone for about 4 days being like, when's the next one coming? And nothing really ever came. So it is what it is.
I'm going to quote an article, and hopefully I'm right. Did someone say the house that you renovated was haunted, and then or something like that, and then you magically renovated and now it's no longer haunted?
Yeah, that was my fault. That was my own words that I said. I don't know how or why this came out, but it literally, when we moved in, it had like Hessian walls in the toilet, and like you could go on about the randomness of this house. It had all the light switches were down low, all these sorts of things. It was sort of built for disability, and had lino floors everywhere as well. So it really felt haunted for the first little while. And so I stupidly said that to, I think someone from the Yaddy or something was asking about the house. And that happened to be the heading for the article. And Alice is like, Alice works in marketing and does all our brand. She's like,
Perfect.
Would you have put a worse heading on a house being haunted that you're trying to sell? So that's probably advice to people selling. Don't use those sort of words.
That's too funny.
Yeah. I think I saw the article headline. I was like, oh, a haunted house. Interesting. And then, hearing the deadlines, immediately my palms were just sweating and thinking, oh, my God, like when did that article get released? Like, what does that look like? Oh,
not ideal. But we still sold it, so we move on.
Yeah. How did you find the renovation process? Because, again, busy person, were you doing it yourself? I think you said you had some help from family.
We had the builders who built our family home. Luckily, Simon was amazing. So he brought his guys in and he did it all. We were we were mostly at mum and dad's the whole time, I think, from memory. So we had some amazing builders. We just got lucky. There's so many horror stories out there, but these guys were awesome. And they did a great job. And again, really credit to Alice. She just takes a lot on her plate, and she really drove a lot of that. Is very good, clear project manager, and held a lot of that control, which was fantastic. And so, I can't take too much credit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think sometimes it can make or break people, and then some people do one renovation, they will never go again. Would you ever go again, or where you are now is home? That's it.
Yeah, for sure. No, we certainly would. We certainly would, and we've got a fantastic builder here, Toby Buildology, now doing great work here at where we are. and we just got our designer plans back last week or so. So we're looking at this sort of renovation that we'll look into for 2026 onwards here, because this is nothing much has changed since this house was built, and there's lots of funny quirks about it that don't work in this day and age. Lots of
Not haunted though. Just in case you do need to sell it, it's not haunted.
Yes, not haunted. But yeah, so there's certainly some things to improve here, and we're looking forward to that process. Won't be looking forward to the quotes and everything coming in, I'm sure, but that's again part of the process we'll go through.
I'm interested. A lot of your work has been charity focused, giving back, making people's lives easier. You've spoken about working in schools, and I think you've got an upcoming. I think it's a dinner that people can attend as Geelong entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What does that? I guess is that your why? What is your why? It sounds like you've obviously faced roadblocks, challenges, lots of balls in the air, travel, sacrifices. What is your why now? And then maybe just reflecting has that changed in the recent years?
Yeah, it certainly has changed. I'd say it change every year in a sense, but I think my instant reaction to your question is like to be, sounds stupid, I know, but like to be a great dad, or meaning that my kids have fun and happy kids, like that's my why in a way. I know that's not the question really, but I think that connects into how you operate and do your work as well. If we're successful at work, then we can be successful at home too. So I think that's truly my why, and to just have a happy, healthy family and do whatever you can to do that that's what motivates me.
It does lead into, I guess, that the value proposition though, because I think as a leader of a business, then having someone like yourself who has that kind of why. It's not why to be to be able to buy nice things, or to be the this type of person, or have all these accolades. Just means that the probably environment that you're creating for a lot of people is exactly what people do want
and value.
And value more so now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't want to also paint the false picture. Like, our team work bloody hard. We all work really hard. So it's like finding that balance is next to impossible, right? Like, we're working all hours, and our team are, redlining sometimes. And that's the reality of working in a scaling up business. Like, it's not for everyone. Like, we've certainly had people come and go that it's just like, this is too high pace, and you've just got to work stuff out on the fly sometimes, because that's the reality. As I said before, yes, 70 odd staff sounds like a lot, but for what we're delivering, it's not. And so I think there's a balance there too, of saying you sort of got to know what you're signing up for. But yes, I think we've had so many staff been with us since the start, really, that have been with us such a long time. And hopefully that sort of goes to what, and I think he's better at this than I am in terms of sort of listening and making sure people are aligned too about what's in it for them and what makes them tick. But maybe to your question before about what's my why, I explained that, but maybe more to answer the question I touched on before. But I think, where do I see myself in maybe 10 years or so? Like, what I get very passionate about is seeing young people have a go. So if there's something in that space, I have no idea what it looks like, but that's always driven me, is to help see young people get a smile on their face from achieving something they thought they couldn't. And I think opening their eyes to say they can try and do something like that, that's something that I get excited about, because it's so rare, I think. It's so, and 99% of people that haven't probably had the opportunity to know what that even looks like. And so I think to be able to open the eyes to young people to say, have a go and see if you like it, that's something that really gets me excited.
Love that so much. And what would you say, like, what's next for Rostify? What's next for you and your businesses? Is there anything in the pipeline, or just continuing to grow, as you mentioned earlier?
Just truly, it's kind of every day is that we rarely sort of step back a bit. It's kind of, as I said, we did that 150 million hours. With now next goal is 500 million. And when's the soonest we can do that? That's sort of how we kind of operate, I suppose. But yeah, we've got some really great backing now behind the business. We're able to scale and grow. I think one thing, if it's valuable, like one thing we've always learned is, especially early days in starting a business, the blunt reality is you can't afford to hire people that are you can learn from necessarily, right? Like that's just reality. But then as you scale and grow your business, maybe you get some investment in, maybe you're just outstanding and you're able to cash flow it. The most amazing thing that can happen to any business at scaling is by bringing in people that you can learn from, or people that excel in their space. Like we've had some incredible employees along our journey that have been able to take us from where we were on a huge leap to the next stage. And that's not on me and Bennett or Chris, that's on hiring great people. And so I think that's something that, to your question, I think it'd just be about adding more people like that can add more in their own world, run their own show, in a sense of going, we back you in because you know more about this stuff than we do. And you've got a bit of a loose rein to say, because there's no textbook to this stuff. Like every day is sort of a different thing will pop up and you've got to be quite reactive. And so having great people in the team is what it's all about, in my opinion. And that's what's going to take us forward.
How have you gone with, and I'll ask it in maybe two ways. I guess it sounds like you realised that working on the business rather than in the business, because it seems like you're a hustler. You were the one going around the world doing all this, and then making way for people that, as you've kind of alluded to, have the skill set that you don't have and those types of things. Was that something that, on reflection, you did at the right time? Do you think you could have done it earlier? Because I know like a lot of business owners really struggle with that, the ability to kind of go, let go. This is my baby, but we need to fly the coop here. We need to let someone else kind of take the reins.
Yeah, it's a really smart question, because it's critical. And to be honest, I'm pretty bad at it. So it's like I'm still very much hands-on in terms of sales and growing the business in that sense. But in a way now, with Bennett's help, really, has been, I now report into someone. And so like I don't have any, I don't care if I'm the bottom of the tree. It doesn't matter to me as long as we're moving in the right direction. There's no, no pride, I suppose, in that sense, because it doesn't mean anything. And especially titles, it doesn't matter, again, to me personally. But I think that credit goes to Bennett, who's my business partner and our CEO, who's been able to sort of look forward a few years and say, where do we need to be and what roles do we need to play? And we've had a lot of battles, even if not just with ourselves, but even team members as well, to be like, hey, we need to expand this part of the business. And for that person, that might suck. But that's how these sort of things need to evolve and grow. And so we've learned a lot about how to handle those conversations too. And I think you only learn from them by screwing them up as well at the start.
True.
I think that's the point about you just sticking around and not quitting too, because it's some of these scenarios in the past that we've had to go through. I could almost guarantee most people would quit or stop or go, that's enough. And I think you just got to take them as scars perhaps along the way, so then when that happens the next time, you're better for the run. So I think Bennett and I are certainly a lot calmer now in the way that we approach things. It's just got to ride the wave. Like it's about not getting overly hyped up and excited and ringing the bell every time you do a deal. It's not about that. And it's also not getting depressed and not sleeping at night when you lose a contract and deal, because every day you're going to find one or the other. And if you're riding them too hardcore and if you're too on the edge all the time, you'd blow yourself up. But more importantly, like, in a way, we don't matter. It's more about how your team then ride that too. And I think if you're trying to be a leader and do that, that's not conducive to a good team morale. And so I think these are things that we just reflect and learn on. And again, I'm not perfect at this stuff at all. Bennett's certainly a lot better than I am, but I'm talking about this from watching him, perhaps.
You're preaching to the choir there a little bit.
Seriously, we are feeling those feels.
With the roller coaster, because we, like in real estate, we often say it is a massive roller coaster. And if you only celebrated getting a house listed or sold, on
You'd
average,
be happy maybe a few times a month.
3 to 4 times a month. So it's finding the wins, but then obviously, as you've alluded to, you've worked out how many hours and then that goal, and making sure that you are then celebrating, because it can go by so quickly. And if you don't stop and reflect as a business owner, sometimes you do get caught up in the day-to-day and you go, it's been 5 years and we've done all these amazing things. We haven't stopped to smell the roses and actually enjoy that time.
Yeah. It's even hearing that, I'm like, and again, this is just my personality, but I'm like, I don't even want to even think about that. It's in a way, I'm not important. Like I'm going to be okay. It's more about the team and making them feel that is the way, I guess, that I've sort of come to see these things, I suppose. But yeah, like we should have done our Q3 drinks to celebrate last quarter. We still haven't done them, but it's just sort of these sort of things. We just need to prioritize them more. I'd say every business in the world that's moving quickly would agree and probably say that they're guilty of that too. But it's not about us; it's about the team, and we've just got to make sure we stop and think about them more. I think in sort of scenarios is probably what I've learned.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for catching up with us today. It's been awesome. We're just going to end with some rapid fire questions, if you don't mind. My first one for you is current book recommendation.
Bad question.
You read books.
If you read
audience, yeah. I really struggle. I reckon I only read when I go on holiday, and even on the last holiday, I read half a book, and I was reading Anthony Bourdain's whatever it was, biography or something. So go that one.
Nice. Favorite holiday destination?
Bali is probably where I've gone forever. Alice's family's been there forever, so we're always there. But I'd say McLaren Vale is probably our family favourite. We just love it over there.
How good is that? Well, thank you so much for catching on today. Like, it's been awesome, to kind of hear your story. And I think you probably said it about 10 to 15 times. It's not about me, it's about Alice or Bennett or the team. So I think, we wanted to catch up with you because your story is awesome. And I know sometimes when you are talking about it, you like to include everyone. So it's been awesome to hear that journey for you and your family, business partners, etc. So thank you for taking the time today.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thanks so much for
great.
sharing.
Yeah, no
Been
problem.
a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.